Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of my F1 2018 Career Mode. Today we are here for round number 8 for the French Grand Prix here at Paul Ricard. If you guys did miss round 7 for the Canadian Grand Prix, then do check out the episode by clicking the card in the top right hand corner of your screen. But today we are here, round 7, France, no rain expected once again, and we're actually on a pretty good streak when it comes to wet races this season so far. And in terms of upgrades, we've got 5 upgrades for this race, guys. None of them failed. Once again, we put on a massive upgrade package at the end of the last episode. If you haven't seen it, then like I say, go check it out if you want to get up to speed. And we've got 2 chassis upgrades, 2 aerodynamic ones, and 1 for the engine, more specifically for the engine power. So hopefully this should really help us cut the gap to Sauber in terms of how far away we are in the R&D race. And as you'll see in a moment's time, we have actually cut the gap down quite a bit. And it also seems like nobody else has bought any upgrades, because you can see on screen now, we pretty much take a third or a quarter out of the gap we had to Sauber. And big upgrade package there. They brought some upgrades of their own, but it's nothing compared to what we've brought. And elsewhere, a few upgrades from some other teams, but we're definitely the biggest upgraded team coming into this race. And for this race, originally, my plan is to try and run a new power unit. We're going to see how that one goes. First of all, we're going to pretty much run the original power unit in practice, and we're going to then maybe switch over for qualifying. I will admit, at the time, I think I almost forgot, or I did forget to change the engine, because I did practice, and then I went to qualifying, and I kind of got carried away, and I forgot to change the engine for qualifying. So we're going to be running the first power unit still for practice and qualifying, and then hopefully I'll change it for the race. So as you can see, currently now jumping into qualifying. Speaking of which, we are currently here, beautiful sunny conditions, and not a drop of rain in sight. So that's going to make for a very interesting session here, and no unpredictable circumstances. And hopefully we could try and have a good session. With the upgrades, I want to see what the car has in store, and how far we can push it, and see if we can push the Saubers. In Canada, the last race, we tried to keep them around for their money, but ultimately they were just too quick. So we're going to see if today, around this particular track, we can try and have a better weekend overall and try and give the Saubers a few more problems, because it was a little bit too easy for them, in my opinion, at Canada, and there wasn't much we could have done. It just purely came down to the car performance. So here we are then, in qualifying. I'm going to hit the track for the first time here, for the first of 3 runs on the ultra soft compound tyres, as always. And in this particular situation, my best run was my final lap. So we're going to run on board for that one later on. But first of all, let's get an eye on the banker lap. And straight away, Alonso is setting the pace for the McLaren team here. To be fair, he has strong pace all weekend, Alonso. He was kind of an outsider threat, so he could be a possibility he might mix it in with us come race day. But for now, you can see we're currently coming towards the end of the lap here. And it's been a pretty good banker, to be honest. A couple of corners where I could have improved, especially through sector 1. And I was also learning where the ERS is more efficient around here, and where I can really push it. And you can see we do go fastest ahead of Alonso over 26.0 there. Pretty good lap time, and going to be a pretty tricky benchmark to beat. But now moving on towards our second run here, Sebastian Vettel has gone fastest with a 25.9, and the first man into the 125s in the other Ferrari. Alonso is still P3, and the Saubers yet to show their faces as we now cut that corner, and unfortunately our second run is invalidated, unfortunately for us. So it's all going to come down to the final run. I went on to finish on that lap, and we did actually improve by 3/10, so I know there's 3/10 at least on the table, if not more. So here we go then, on board for a full lap of the Paul Ricard circuit, and with a couple of minutes left to go, no Saubers in sight just yet. I think Ericsson might be P1, but I can't see Leclerc anywhere, as we now go through the first chicane. A little bit cautious, I couldn't really see the turning point, so I kind of took 2 stabs at it on the turn in there, so I lost a little bit of time. But now in towards the end of sector 1, it's a very tricky slow speed section here. It's all about mechanical grip and having patience. Don't pick up the throttle too fast, and have patience, especially through this long right-hander here. You want to have patience when it comes to putting the throttle down onto the back straight. And now you open up the DRS along with some overtake ERS to really maximise the straight line speed. And now you're looking for the 100-metre board for the break point into the chicane here, midway through the Mistral straight. And you want to really attack the curve. We actually get very lucky not to invalidate there, because we actually cut that corner. But then a good exit, good traction out of the corner there. And now once again, maximum engine power, also overtake ERS on the exits. We cross the second sector split, and we are a quarter of a second up on pole position here as we now go into the final sector. And this is make or break. These next few corners, it's all about picking up the line, having patience on the throttle, let the car run out wide on the exit. And now this corner here is very tricky. You want to turn in quite late, or you can attack the apex and go for a very early apex and sacrifice the apex. It's very subjective depending on your preference. I like to take the late apex and focus on my exit speed as we now go into this long swooping left, which feeds into the tight right hairpin for the final corner. We get it absolutely beautifully hooked up, no wheel spin on the exit, DRS open, maximum engine power across the line. We did go P1 for the time being, but then obviously the qualifying glitch happened because we didn't time the session perfectly, and Vettel was the one that managed to squeeze in one more lap and go fastest, and it wasn't even close. He went fastest by 0.7 of a second, and Sebastian Vettel benefiting from the qualifying timing glitch there. Otherwise, it was my pole position. So a bit of a shame, but still a Ferrari 1-2 nonetheless. A really strong qualifying. And more importantly, Charles Leclerc nowhere to be seen. And that's because I believe he may have had a car issue. Similar to what we have sometimes when you learn into the session, you got a fault on the car. I think Charles Leclerc had a problem because he didn't set a single lap in the entire session, and he's going to start from the back of the grid, as you'll see in a moment's time. But all in all, a pretty surprising one, to be honest. I was waiting for him to set a lap. He never really set one, and there you go, right at the bottom, no time for Charles Leclerc. So confirmation there that he had a bit of a miserable session and something wasn't quite right. So it's a Ferrari front row here at France, and it's our race to lose. So let's try and convert this 1-2 into a 1-2 in the race in itself, but hopefully in the reverse order, and I could try win the race. With that being said, it's now time for round 8 for the French Grand Prix. Let's get into it and let's see if we can try and win this race.
It looks like you've invested heavily in the development of new parts. Great qualifying session. Are you feeling safer ahead of the pack? It's got to be a relief to qualify that far up the grid. You didn't spend much time practicing. Are you saving your car for the main event? Great! Well, that's everything.
Welcome along then to the circuit Paul Ricard, home of the French Grand Prix, home race of the Renault team, and of course a number of the drivers on the grid as well. Of the 14 races held here up until 1990, 5 were won by a Frenchman, and 4 of those, of course, were Alain Prost. I wonder who'll add their name to that winners list today. Mastering a lap of Paul Ricard means getting to know 15 corners, 6 left and 9 right, for an overall lap distance of 3.6 miles. The two halves of the long Mistral Straight are separated by a heavy braking zone into a potential overtaking hotspot at the Chicane Nord. And watch out for the drivers running onto the distinctive coloured stripes, which are low in grip and highly abrasive. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk about Mercedes. They've had 1 retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
I think they can be fairly pleased with that record so far. The first thing any good car needs is a solid, reliable base with which to build on, and they seem to have that this season.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Martinez completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Van Dorn, Marcus Ericsson, and Perez, Ocon, Alonso, Sainz, and Lewis Hamilton, Magnussen, Grosjean, Nico Hülkenberg. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Hartley, Stroll, Gasly, Valtteri Bottas and Daniel Ricciardo. Leclerc and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Okay guys, here we are then for the race for the French Grand Prix. Front row start alongside Sebastian Vettel, making it the all first Ferrari front row of the season. Let's see if we can try and convert this front row start into a race win. But first of all, strategy around here is going to be key. Now there's 2 options, a 2-stop or a 1-stop. The 1-stop is what I've always gone for around here, and is what traditionally has worked for me. Now if you guys do remember from qualifying, we finished the lap as the flag already dropped. Therefore the actual game and AI done the in-lap themselves. Therefore added on a lot of tyre wear. You can see my tyre life on the Ultras is a lot lower than what it should be. So I'm going to be kind of handicapped realistically in terms of strategy of this race, and the 2-stop might be a possible option, especially because Leclerc's coming from the back of the grid. He's not going to be as big of a threat as always. He's still going to be a threat, especially if he does get through the grid cleanly and has a clean race, but that's highly unlikely knowing how the AI tend to race, and I think a 2-stop might be the likely option. So we're going to kind of see how it goes. If I can make the 1-stop work, I'm definitely going to go for it. But if I can go for the 2 and still pull that off, I'm going to try and go for that instead. Now, in terms of fuel, we are only 1 lap over. I'm not being too heavy. Normally I run 1.5, maybe 2 laps of extra fuel, but I'm only running 1 today because this Ferrari is very efficient. And also, starting at the front, I want to be a little bit lighter and a little bit more aggressive at the start and try and get first place and set the tone and set the pace out front. So, with that being said, let's jump into it here for round 8 for the French Grand Prix, and let's try and win this bloody race. It's time. Let's get into it. It's race day. Right, here we go. It's time for the French Grand Prix. Get the revs up into the sweet spot. The lights are on and they are off, and away we go. Not the greatest start you'll ever see. Vettel gets off really well. We've got a little bit of lag here already, which isn't good. Into turn 1. Van Dorn with the great start. I'm going to go for the squeeze there and push him wide a little bit. But Van Dorn getting the good start in the McLaren. Verstappen now retakes 3rd place. Sebastian Vettel getting away well in the other Ferrari. Good start from him. Verstappen P3, but let's see if we can get close to Sebastian here onto the back straight. Maybe go for a move, hopefully my teammate. Here we go. Pretty good acceleration, no DRS just yet. We are not really close enough for a move, I don't think. Although we are gaining quite a bit, my teammate. Maybe on the second half of the straight, I've got quite a bit of lag here. Not really sure what's happening. I always get a bit of lag around the circuit for some reason, and I have to try and manage it, especially at the start of the race, when all the cars are kind of bunched together on the same part of the racetrack. Here we go though. A good exit out of the chicane. We've gained some time on Vettel. We're gaining. We're going to go through the flat out right, and I could have a go there. Vettel does go defensive slightly, but I'm going to back out. I'm not going to commit just yet. I'm going to make an adjustment to the brake bias, push it up to 56, a bit more towards the front. Verstappen still P3, and Ericsson is in that pack. And Ericsson, he had okay pace in qualifying, but he wasn't the fastest. I mean, even before the qualifying glitch, I was faster than Ericsson. So I definitely have pace over him today around this circuit. So he's going to be a threat, but not a major one, maybe towards the end of the Grand Prix. But so far, that one's in the books, and I'm already fancying my chances here against Sebastian Vettel. Might try and line him up for a move onto the back straight. Oof, a little bit loose there, but a good exit nonetheless. Still no DRS, so we've got to try and do it with raw slipstream. And I'm gaining on Sebastian, but I'm going to back out early on. I'm not going to commit to this chicane just yet. I'll maybe have a look out of the chicane potentially if I can get a good run. If I can open up the line a bit. Get the power down. Let's see what that's like. That's a little bit better. A little bit closer than we were last lap, but still not close enough. I don't think. We are gaining here through the fast right. I'm a lot closer this time. Do I go for it? Yes, I do. Down the inside of my teammate. Beautiful move. Sebastian leaves the room, so fair play. Ericsson's now P3, so he's starting to make some moves in the Sauber. We run a little bit wide there, but that's also contrasting lines. I tend to run a little bit wider there than the AI do. Vettel trying to go back down the inside, but no way past just yet. Vettel keeping close company for now, as DRS will be enabled now next time we cross the finish line. But lap 2 is in the books now, and we've taken the lead in the French Grand Prix here. We've got a little breakaway you can see on the minimap. As Ericsson actually sets the pace in the Sauber, so we need to respond to that realistically. As DRS is now enabled, so let's try and open up a gap here to Sebastian Vettel. There we go, fast out of the Grand Prix into the 1 minute 29s. Much better race pace. Ericsson now trying to get past Sebastian Vettel in the new and improved Ferrari, Sebastian. So of course, we've got a little bit more straight line speed now compared to the last few races, so hopefully it's going to be a little bit harder for the Saubers to get past. Me being up front is actually good news now, because it allows me to kind of control the pace, manage my tyres, and now I can maybe by myself make a decision if I want to try and revert to a one-stop race possibly and go for the soft compound tyres. The longer I stay out, the better my race will be, as Ericsson makes the move on Sebastian Vettel for P2. But look at the gap we've got, nice healthy gap at the minute, and things are looking good so far, so let's try and keep it that way, because if we can control this lead and maintain the gap behind, that'd be great. Vettel's keeping up with Ericsson, and actually Ericsson's pit in, so Ericsson's going for that two-stopper it seems. Meanwhile, I've looked at the minimap. Leclerc is making fantastic progress. He is, I think, already inside the top 10. So I'm leaning towards the one-stop here already, I can't lie. The one-stop may be necessary as well, and I'll highlight this in a moment's time, due to the amount of traffic we have to get through. You'll see the Force India and Haas combo that are holding up the midfield. You can see there Leclerc is at pretty much the second car now behind, but look at that train of cars, and it still goes on all the way down the Mistral straight. Ericsson has rejumped behind all of those guys, so that would be a lot of traffic I'd have to get through. So I think I'm going to try and go out for this one stop here. My tyres are not as good as I thought, They're more worn out than I expected, and we need to go a long way, at least to lap 10. Or lap 9 maybe. We can get away with lap 9, I reckon. So realistically, 3 more laps. As Sebastian comes in.
Sebastian's in for his stop.
But we're going to have to, manage ourselves. I don't want to come out of too much traffic. You can see my tyre wear there. I reckon I've got 3 more laps in these. I'm going to have to drop a little bit of pace, I reckon. Like, as in, I'm going to be a little bit slow. Leclerc's now P2. He's in the super soft, so Leclerc is going to one-stop this race. So I'm kind of forced, really, because Leclerc's a bit too close. We'll see the gap now when he crosses the first sector split, but I think I haven't got enough. I mean, obviously I haven't got enough. If you look where Ericsson is, there he is, and there's Vettel behind him. You've got to get through all those cars, and that's going to cost us a lot of time. So I'm going to try and go long here and make this one-stop work. Right then, let's get everything turned down as we get ready for our pit stop here. Leclerc is just about 9 seconds behind, so he's going to be in contention, I'd say. He's there or thereabouts. Here we go into the pit lane. 2.3, good stop. Leclerc's going to obviously come in for soft compound tyres, so he's got to make up a 9-second gap in 17 laps. That's very much doable if he has consistent pace. I know he's faster than me because he's just faster, the car, and also him as a driver, so I think he's still in this race, and he could come back to bite us later on. Here's Vettel, and Ericsson's just up the road, so those guys have got that gap from that 3-second gap that I had. They've actually managed to claw it back. Good thing is, there's a lot less traffic we have to get through, but they're on a different strategy now. Obviously, they're going for another stop, so it's interesting how this is going to pan out, an interesting dynamic. My tyres are a bit cold here. I'm trying to get my tyres to switch on. I want to try and nab some DRS off of Hamilton if I can, but I'm too far back, I think, so we might have to defend from Sebastian Vettel here on this straight first time round, and then hopefully I can open up a gap. Here we go, Sebastian is within range, my own teammate. This is going to cost me time when I go defensive here, cover the inside line, into the chicane. Vettel locks up, runs deep. That's going to give me the position, thank you, as I get my gears all out of sync and messed up there. Luckily though, we managed to stay in front, and we can now charge after Lewis Hamilton, and Marcus Ericsson is not too far in front either. Okay, just had DRS there, but we're going to hang back for now. Out of turn 2 though, we're going to get the run on Lewis here. Lewis goes defensive. It's a drag race. Can we go around the outside? Yes, we do. Lovely move around the outside. Absolutely textbook manoeuvre there. Now can we open up enough of a gap through this next right-hander to pick up a track extension there to try and open up a gap. He's going to have DRS on me, but he's already dropped back quite far. He's struggling on his tyres. And there we go, job done. He won't be a threat, and Vettel's going to make the move on him now. Up next, Marcus Ericsson. Let's go hunt him down. There we go, we match our fastest lap at 29.9. Literally 11 thousandths off. That's good enough pace, I think, to keep the gap to Leclerc. I think I'm faster than Leclerc at the minute because I'm faster than Ericsson. Marcus Ericsson, speaking of which, is trying to go for a move here into the slow section. Let's try and close that gap if we can. Hopefully we can nab some DRS onto the back straight. Ericsson and Grosjean, they're going side by side. And Grosjean holds on, he stands firm and holds the position. I think we might just nick some DRS there. Have we done it? No, we haven't. So they're going to be in a drag race. We should be onto Grosjean very soon here. Okay, then let's try and make this pass on Grosjean very quick. Set a purple sector 1 and purple sector 2. Found half a second so far on my fast lap at the Grand Prix. Let's try and set up Roman for a pass if possible. I want to try and nab some DRS in the process though, so I'm going to maybe look for the outside here into this corner, although I think Grosjean might come in this lap, so I'm going to actually hand back instead. I'll just wait for now. Is Grosjean going to come in? No, he doesn't, so we're going to have to get the job done the old-fashioned way. He's got DRS on Ericsson. We're closing the pit lane. We set the fast up of the Grand Prix 29.8. Here we go then, we're going to go to the outside of Grosjean. Grosjean tries to hold it on the inside, fair play, side by side, but we're going to get the inside for turn 2. Job done. Up next, Ericsson for first place. Let's get the re-overtake done. Here we go, through the slow section. Let's try and close in on Ericsson, get the gap down within a second and pick up the DRS. Gap 7/10 of a second here. Not the best exit, but good enough. We should have DRS on him. Nowhere near within range to go for a pass, especially on the fastest car on the straight, but maybe if we get a good chicane, we can get him out the chicane here. Okay, so it took a little bit longer than I expected. You can see Leclerc on the mini-map. He's definitely a contender here. He's going to have the same tyres as me, similar to Canada, but fresher tyres. The difference is, unlike Canada, we've got a much faster package. onto the pit straight then, and Ericsson is still going to stay in front. He gets too much acceleration. We set a purple lap, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to have to be in the back straight, I think. So let's try and set this up beautifully. We know what we're like for acceleration, so we need to have a good exit, and that's not too bad. I think I might not have enough on this straight, but the chicane I'm pretty quick, so let's see. Here we go. Let's just set ourselves up here for the exit out of the chicane. There we go, power down. Lucky to not get an extension there. Ericsson does accelerate so well. Come on, we've got the juice. Let's try and follow him here. Keep a nice tight line through the right. Can we go for it? Oh, not quite. Ericsson holds on. This Sauber's acceleration is just something else. It really is. Can I try and surprise him somewhere? Let's find out. I need to get this pass done now because I'm losing a lot of valuable time to Charles Leclerc here. And this is potentially ruining my race, so I need to get this job done. I'm kind of praying Ericsson just pits in, to be honest, this lap. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I'll be surprised if he does come in. Yeah, there you go, he stays out. Okay, this time, let's not get it wrong. Focus on the exit. Come on, give me something. Oh, we're a little bit closer than last lap. Am I close enough? I don't think I am. Come on, come on. Give me everything you've got. And it's not going to be enough. Into the chicane again. I'm going to try and set up the switchback. On the power nice and early. This is better. But Ericsson just keeps on accelerating. He just keeps on pulling away. Come on, come on. Not the best line through there. We're going to have to try something else, and I know exactly where. Come on, let's try and get close. I need to get this job done, man, I really do. Okay, Ericsson pits in finally, there we go. Okay, we've been releasing the clean air now. I'm going to burn off a lot of my excess fuel, and I need to push now. Vettel stays up for one more lap, which is good, because it means he's going to have to hopefully hold Leclerc back for me a little bit. Leclerc set the pace, 29.5. Not as fast as I thought he would be, to be honest, but we know how fast Leclerc tends to get towards the end of the race in the closing laps. So it's important to have a gap going into the last 3 or 4 laps of the Grand Prix. Well, Vettel done his job. He held up Leclerc for the entirety of that lap. But Vettel's now going to pit in. No, he doesn't. He stays out for one more. Leclerc sets another fastest lap, but that's just because he's got DRS and a nice slipstream on Vettel. Hopefully Seb will hold him up a little bit longer, so we've got a yellow flag here in Sector 1. Seems to be either a Williams or a Mercedes. I'll get a closer look. And it's Serdar Sorokin with a puncture on the right rear. In the Williams. Vettel still keeping Leclerc behind. And they're going to get closed up a little bit by that, compromised by the Williams a little bit. But Leclerc's going to get the job done now on this straight, without a doubt. There we go, he's done it. Oh, fair play, Seb. You've done your job. 10 laps to go. Tyres look okay. We're going to have to defend like hell here to try and win this race. Leclerc's going to be very quick. Oh, VSC deployed. Okay, that's an interesting one. So that's obviously for Sorokin. That's going to help us save fuel and DRS and get pushing once again. Okay, VSC ending. Time that to perfection. DRS now enabled. And Sorokin actually got disqualified, I believe, in that process.
Sebastian is in the pits.
Vettel pits in, so it's now me versus Leclerc. These screen freezes are really getting annoying now. But it's me versus Leclerc now for the rest of the race. Let's see how this all pans out. This could be very interesting. Sebastian Vettel set the pace. Yellow flag in front here. And it's a red ball, so I'm going to guess it's Daniel Ricciardo. Yes, it is. It's Ricciardo. Just caught a glimpse of the name there. So with now the 16 runners, I believe Marcus Ericsson's retired. I think he might have had a tangle with Sorokin, I'm not really sure. I'll watch it back in a replay once I finish the race, and I'll put that in the video for you guys. But I think Ericsson might have retired from the race. Also, bit of an update. Leclerc's quick, but not that quick. We can manage this. Gap's barely come down. It's been 7 to 6.5, more or less in that region for the next, since pretty much the VSC came in. So we've got this under control. So pretty much we're ready now. So if Leclerc has gone a late surge right at the end like he always does, I've got enough of a gap that I should be okay and not really be under pressure, but I've got to keep this pace up and stay consistent on the older tyres. Personal best there, pretty good lap actually. Tyres are still holding on well, and I'm still setting a strong pace. I'm very, very consistent every single lap in the mid-29s. high to mid really, 29s, and we're keeping Leclerc quite comfortably at bay. So I'm more than ready for him to start picking up the pace now any moment and trying to charge after me at the end of the Grand Prix. Okay, another personal best, 29.4. Actually getting pretty close to the first lap of the Grand Prix. This is more than under control now. Let's try and bring this one home. Leclerc's starting to pick up the pace now. Gap down to 6.2. But I don't think it's going to mean anything. I think we've got this all wrapped up. 3 laps to go. Let's win this race. Well then, here we go. Through the final few corners now. I'm trying to see if I can do a Leclerc and set a fast lap right at the end. I'm currently half a second up. And the lap is purple in both sectors. But here we go. We're going to come through to win the French Grand Prix. Grazie ragazzi. Forza Ferrari. Fastest lap. Giornata fortissima. Macchina incredibile. What a weekend. Woohoo! Yes.
A great win then for the Maranello team today. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
You took the top points today. Was it a comfortable win? You must be happy with the result today. You performed better than last weekend. What changed? It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it? Appreciate your time.
Right, so looking at the final race results, we win the French Grand Prix, and we actually set the fast lap of the Grand Prix right at the end, the 28.7, the only man into the 128s, and kind of showing Leclerc that we had a bit of pace of our own right at the end there if we needed to push, and we out-Leclerc'd Charles Leclerc. Speaking of which, he got P2 ahead of my teammate Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian on a two-stop strategy, good race from him as well, and it goes to show the improvements of the Ferrari car, because even on the two-stop he was literally 30 seconds or more clear of the next two-stop car, which was Sergio Perez. Romain Grosjean P4 there on the one-stop as well, good race from him. Alonso P6, Sainz P7, Verstappen 8th, Lewis Hamilton P9, and Ocon scoring the final point. Gasly, the Frenchman, misses out on points to Esteban Ocon in his home race, and then Hulkenberg, Hartley, Bottas, Van Dorn, who started P4 all the way down in P15 that race, and then Stroll, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Ericsson and Sirotkin all outside the points, with Ericsson actually retiring at the end, confirming what I thought, and Sirotkin with the disqualification. Now in terms of what the race means for the Drivers' Championship, we lead the way by 22 points over Charles Leclerc going into Austria, which is probably my strongest track of the entire season, so a good opportunity there to extend our points lead. And also Sebastian Vettel P10 now into the top half of the table, equal points with Verstappen, 1 point behind Perez and 2 points behind Van Dorn, but Vettel finally starting to get his season underway, scoring that podium. And in terms of the constructors, we are now 32 points behind Sauber. With that 1-3 finish, we gain some points back on the Swiss-based team as McLaren overtake Red Bull there for P4. But all things considered, guys, that was a successful race. Unfortunately, we don't have enough points for any upgrades for Austria, but like I said, Austria is one of my stronger circuits, so I'm quite happy to not have any upgrades for that race, as the car in itself should be strong enough to try and compete. With that being said though, guys, if you did enjoy this episode of Career Mode, please do drop a like, and also get subscribed daily for more on content, and turn notifications to not miss a single video from me, and finally check out these two videos on your screen if you haven't missed them. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Career Mode. I'll see you in my next episode very soon, but until then, it's goodbye from me.